that surprising. Late on Friday, which whenever you put a press release out late on Friday, you're trying to get the media to ignore it. Not going to work, Clippers. The Clippers announced that Doc Rivers has been relieved of his general manager duties. Lawrence Frank will handle that. He's still the head coach, but he's no longer the general manager making those sort of basketball decisions. I believe this was a Jerry West move. What sort of impact will this have on the Clippers?
It's going to have a big impact, and the reason why is Doc Rivers had his fingertips on how that roster was being formed. And when pieces of it start to chip away, like DeAndre Jordan was about to leave, then they find a way to keep him. Then Blake's free agency was upon them. Though he was injured, he had an opportunity to leave, but once Chris Paul leaves, it's like, we got to pay Blake top dollar. Then all of a sudden, wait a minute, we're losing Jamal Crawford? He's still one of the best six-mans in the league. What happened there was he and Austin Rivers sort of have the same skill set. And so when you see both of those players, you're like, wait a minute. Instead of signing Austin to do what Jamal does, how about we go get a small forward that can do what neither one of those guys do? Because at the end of the game, who was their closing lineup? J.J. Redick, who they also lost to the Sixers. Chris Paul, J.J. Redick, and a lot of times Jamal Crawford. So when you look at that lineup, it's not physically imposing, it's definitely not tall, and it had trouble going against teams that trotted out versatile players, in particular ones at the small forward position. So as the roster started to deteriorate and you bring in Jerry West, it's only a matter of time that you get relieved of those duties.
Absolutely. Now, how do you think Doc Rivers feels about this? Because it certainly does feel like Chris Paul decided to leave the Clippers, not the other way around. He went to them and said, look, I'm leaving anyway. You can trade me and get something back. Maybe let's work something out. But how do you think Doc Rivers feels about this?
He has to feel some type of way because, again, you lose Chris Paul and J.J. Redick, you're starting backcourt and a six-man of the year all in the same summer.
That's 60% of your final five.
No question about it. And so that does say something to, unfortunately, how lackluster he was able to retain those players. And then for some people, it's like, wait a minute, y'all played Blake how much? And so now he becomes the anchor of your situation. And Blake Griffin, to me, has gotten a bad rap by a lot of people. I know that he's been injured when the Clippers have needed him the most. But every time I look down at the box score, it's like 20, 10, 4. So I understand, in theory, now that we're going to have to move forward, we're moving forward with him. But that does say something about the general manager duties, and that's why Doc lost him.
Do you think Doc Rivers is on the hot seat as a head coach?
I don't think so, because it's easy to throw that out there, but then you look around and say, so who would they hire? Now, I still scratch my head and wonder, why doesn't Mark Jackson have an NBA head coaching job? Even Colin Kaepernick looking at him like, that's messed up, man.
Now we have